Is it on?
Yeah.
Greetings, everyone. This is Cicely with New African Image Makers, and we are live today from Seed to Systems. And we have a very special guest here to help us do a Mother's Day tribute. And this is my daughter, Noelani. And
Hello.
yes, I'm so happy to get her on today. It's always a pleasure working with my daughter. I feel so proud of myself just for having her and being able to talk her into working with me. So this is amazing. I'm gonna pop into the intro and then we'll be back and we'll be diving right in.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the female solution.
Yes, we are back. So I'm going to pass the mic because we are flipping the script today. Noelani, in tribute to me, I suppose, is putting herself in the mic and putting me in the hot seat. So today she's going to be interviewing me, and good luck with that because I'm going to give you guys exactly what I give her, which is love and truth. God help us all.
Okay. Let's first start off. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
I want to say thank you to all the mothers all around who are watching, who aren't watching, who have impacted my life, my lineage, and my mom's. I just want to say we are grateful. And yeah, so with that being said, I think we should take some time for you to recognize the many beautiful women that have came before us. Grandma, great grandma, well, grandma for me, mom for you, great grandma for me, grandma for you,
Yes.
and just have a moment of regard and have some affirmations for maybe the mothers that have shown up in your life in the ways they have specifically impacted you. Something that you would love to tell grandma today if she was sitting right here in your seat, if you was interviewing her. Oh, my beautiful grandma.
Yes, this picture is from around 2009 or somewhere around. I actually took this picture myself at my Uncle Chief's 80th birthday party here in Chicago. And this is just my classic. When I think about my parents, this is them classic black parents in Chicago. They were married for about 45 years when my mother passed away. And this is the lady. If she was here today, I could say what I say about at least once a week. She was right about everything, even the hard things that I didn't want to hear, things that I just fundamentally disagree with. I have found a way in my older age to see. I couldn't see from her perspective as a youth, but now that I'm growing older, it's almost like I could turn around and see it in a different way. And I see that now. My mom was right about everything, and I say it all the time. So you guys already hear that statement a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I want to make a note that there was a person by the name of Rob Silva who was from New York. He passed away last year. He had this amazing podcast, and he used to do this Mother's Day tribute every year. And listening to tributes from people all over the world talk about their mothers, it touched me. It lifted me up during a time that's very difficult for those of us who have had to, who have basically our moms have moved on. And so I really wanted to do something today that is going to, recognize his work, his content production, which was, if you had a chance to interact with him at any given point, It was amazing. He was always speaking love about his mother and his family, and it was a good example for me. It let me feel a lot more gratitude, and I love hearing people's stories about their mothers because it just helps me to put stuff in perspective. What they say about me, and and then what things I've said about my mother and experienced. So I just wanted to do that. If I could hear something that I hear from my grandmother, from my mother's mother in my ear all the time, when I was going through something, she said, I just want you to meet somebody and be with somebody that's going to mean you some good. And I feel like my grandmother spoke a prophecy and a blessing over my life when she said that. Because all of my love relationships, my personal relationships have been truly, I honestly feel like they have been blessed. And I have been blessed to be with partners who do mean me some good. And I remember the day she said it. It's still in my spirit and I hear it. And sometimes I think to myself, where is the person that's going to speak this blessing on my life right now, And then my dad's mother is a firecracker in the spirit world. We've all had encounters with her, even in her transition, and she was a firecracker. And one thing that I've been feeling lately that she would always say, and it comes from a song, but she had a way of saying it. Kwaku, you love to interrupt my podcast with your talking. You're going to be my next guest, star guest, Kwaku, in the background. But my grandmother would always say, smile, and the world will smile with you. Cry, and you'll cry alone. And at the time, being a teenager and a young adult, I really, to be honest, how you try to get something? I tried, bless me. You know what I mean? But today, I'm feeling that like so deep in my spirit, and I believe that's partially what allows me and pushes me to look towards the sun and to nature, because like where else are you gonna get the energy or the gratitude enough to develop a smile in the midst of all the challenges that life, presents. So that's some of the wisdom. I mean, I just got so much from your great grandmother. Man, shoot. I don't want to cry today, but that old lady, all of them, yeah. they black women just have like this thing, and people talk about us. They got a lot of jokes and memes, and they just have especially the ones in my life, they have such a simple way of,
I have to pause it for one moment.
Yeah, but I want to continue. They have such a simple way of communicating their love, their directives, their advice. And so in the old days, maybe it would come in the form of proverbs or something like that. My grandmother had plenty of them that she shared with us. But Noe's grandmother in particular told me one day she could just see the look of stress on my face, and I was going into something new and something different. And I was real concerned about how it was going to work out for me and my daughter. And she said, just put the Lord in front of you and everything will be all right. And at the time, that became my mission to figure out, well, how do I put the Lord in front of me? How do I put my faith in front of me? How do I put God in front of me? How do I put my best intentions in front of me and continue forward in that trajectory? So I was just talking about your great grandmother, and she's another person that's, I would say, active in the spirit world, because we remember we had an encounter with a reader. You remember that?
Which one?
We was in the Caribbean restaurant on 79th Street, and she walked in. You had to be about 6, 7, or 8 years old.
I don't remember that.
Oh, okay. Well, she touched you. She said, your daughter is in a lot of pain. She just had a great loss.
Mm-hmm.
And you looked at me because you knew your great grandmother had just passed away. And man, that was a day right there. So, but yeah, all of them, all of the moms, it's not one of them that have not touched me in some way. I would say even your godfather's mother, she was another powerhouse.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very influential. She's
Miss Martha.
Miss Martha. Let me say her name. She was from Haiti, and she's recently, she's still in transition to be an ancestor right now. So she's recently um, began her travel, and very influential in terms of just, she came over, her and Miss Vernita came over to the house to show me how to make Haitian rice and peas and that chicken. I mean, just old school. I remember, actually, I was pregnant with you. Her and Miss Vernita came down to Champaign, to U of I campus, to Mary's apartment to cook Haitian rice and peas and chicken while I was pregnant. Okay, because you know how important that is for pregnant women to eat good food. They came down. I mean, this woman never sat down. She came in, cooked, and was like, okay. And then she left. I was like, Merrick, your mom about to drive back to Chicago tonight? He's like, yeah, she got to go to work, whatever. I was like, this woman is something else, So just very influential in terms of, she, the best advice that anybody has ever given me has come from really literally all of these women. And if I could add it up, man, it'll be a good book. I could tell you that much. So yeah.
Yeah, I also would like to say that it being Mother's Day, I remember when Grandma was still here, our favorite tradition is to go to eat Ethiopian food together and do some type of spa thing. So it's just been really nice to talk about her because I know she's in the room with us.
Yes.
And I know all these beautiful, strong women who have not only poured into me, but poured into you, are here with us in the space. And yeah. Look at you.
Oh yeah. That so people made fun, not you guys, of course. I'm talking about my family people. When I do the blind, so if you didn't know, the blind fro, was popping, and my mother was popping it. So when I do that, every once in a while, I'm like, you know what? Let me do a shout out to my mom's old school, and I put the little, thing on the afro and make it do what it do. Yeah, but that's where it comes from. I wasn't trying to imitate nobody else but my mama, and that's Pops back there. That's me when I was just a little pudding pop, looking so cute. Can you imagine? I want to show this other image too, because this my another mom. That's my Auntie Bonnie with my mother, and that's me. I don't want to get into the family jokes about how not cute I was as a baby, but you're from a black family when somebody can say that about you and it don't even hurt your feelings. And plus, but there they are, the moms. My Auntie Bonnie is still kicking, so I just want to send some love her way. It ain't easy, but the fact that you still here and you still, blessing us with good jokes and a whole, interesting perspective. I just wanted to know that I appreciate that. And all my aunties, separately, I have to tell them they my favorite, but yeah, shout out to all my aunties who just if there's anything that can compete with being a mom, it's just being a good aunt, and it's just something that I've always had people to look up to and learn what to do and learn what not to do. And as you can see, they've been around some way, shape, or form my entire life. So yeah, just appreciate that so much.
Yeah. I want to talk about Also, it being Sunday, and I know it's a big thing, even with Grandma, who um, she got her ministry license or her.
Yeah, she started studying the ministry. That had to be quite cool. It was a baby. So that was 17 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And, just the faith that has been instilled upon us, and how that faith has continued to carry us through. Um, yeah, I'm just very grateful to have seen that the function of faith in my life, understanding the function of purpose and the function of um, having a deep belief and a deep relationship with God, and how that has impacted me even today. So I also want to say thank you for that.
Yeah.
I think we're going into our first commercial.
Yes, it is time for a break, and we will be back talking more about moms. Ooh, I'm on deck for the break, looks like. Good question. Which one is the break?
Hi, I'm Naima Latif, and if you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. Friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money.
Hello.
Welcome back.
We are back. We are back.
Yes.
With our Seed to Systems Mother's Day tribute. Oh, I made it. I made it up there.
Oh, yes. Just in case, it was any questions about, is this my real daughter? Do we ever be around each other? Do we be having fun for real? Do it look like we faking the funk? Okay. So yeah, this is all different places and spaces and all kinds of stuff we be getting into. Fun, fun pictures and just fun times. So yeah, gotta take a second to be grateful for that. It's not always easy, okay, but we hanging in there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's look at some of these comments. Hey y'all. Hey.
ALATV, what's up? Happy Mother's Day to you.
Higher Learning Network. Happy Mother's Day to you and your beautiful daughter. She's so beautiful with silky smooth skin. Simply adorable.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I do make my own skin and body butters, so that's probably why my skin looks so good.
I would agree.
Not to mention, I was born this way.
This girl is so funny. But yeah, so we are gonna be talking about those products at some point, I hope today.
Yes.
So let's see. Salams to you, Naima. Happy Umi Day. Yes, thank you, Hamida Carr. Thank you so much for joining us. I really was hoping people would chime in with some mom stories because I just really love those.
Okay, I want to tell you some of my mom's stories.
Oh my God, that's
okay.
Oh, this the new meaning to that word, hot seat.
All right. So I always tell people when they meet me that I do not have an original personality at all because I'm really just a culmination of some of my mom's most radical concepts put together.
Oh my God.
I tell people that, like, if they don't know, if they like me, you probably gonna love my mom. So I always think that's funny because most of my best things, like even me being having natural, even me being dark skinned, that's my mom's concept. You know what I mean? She went out there and tried to find the darkest man that she could find to make sure
I knew this was gonna go like
that she could have me be nice, beautiful, and chocolate.
True story.
So, I would love to say that it happened in a vacuum, but sadly it didn't. Me, even when it comes to the way I style my hair and my expression of self, I mean, I've been in front of an easel since before I could even remember, and I've been making pancakes since before I could walk. So I've just had a perfect environment that was beautifully curated by my mother to bring me into this place that I am now and this beautiful person I am now. So, all glory goes to God, but all thanks goes to my mom.
Don't melt me, Peanut.
My mom had me wearing an afro, nice pimped out afro before it was even cool. And I've taken that just empowerment and self and that understanding that I can, I'm good enough as is, and I've gone so far with that. I've inspired plenty. So it's just one act of my mom choosing to empower me in myself, empower me in my image, and, uplift me has allowed me to go out and do that to so many other people. Honestly, even sometimes without talking, the amount of people who I started wearing my afro when I went to high school, nobody was wearing an afro. By the end, every girl I knew had took down their hair and started playing with their natural hair in one way or another. And it was always so funny to me to see it slowly develop like that. And there's plenty of other stories where I could go on and on. But like I said, I always tell people I'm not an original concept. There's some things that I have chosen to take in other ways. But at the end of the day, I am really just my mom's daughter, and the roster is with me, is within me, and I came by it very, very honest.
Oh, that reminds me. My mom used to call me Mini Me. It was just hilarious. Okay, my Naima had a question. She said, "I'd like to know from your daughter how your relationship changed as she got older. My grown daughter now acts like she's the mom."
Oh,
it's mostly going in that direction over here as well. So
yes, okay. How my relationship has changed over time. I think I always keep saying to everybody who talks to me that you are not born in perfect relation with anybody. You come here and you learn how to be a better daughter, just a better person in people's lives all around. And I came here, and of course, I've always been my mom's daughter, but over time, I've learned how to adapt that and calibrate that so that we can have the type of relationship that we're both proud of. And so I definitely do think that it does require me being a little bit more in her business, or nosy, as she would say, because one thing she don't like is me having her location, but I love having her location. And I feel like that just sums up a whole idea. Because she was like, "Who is always asking their mama where she at?" And I'm like, I need to know. I need to know what you're doing, where you at, and who you doing it with. That's very important information for me because it's a very important package.
Oh.
And so I have to keep up with it. You got to keep up with my mama. I think that, we're not perfect, but I do think that we set a tone that mother-daughter relationships could be so dynamic, so beautiful. People tell us all the time they just love the way we interact. They love seeing, like, the conversations I have with her. It's just something that I really could never replace. And I'm just so excited for the many more memories and the many more adventures that we'll go on and the many more ways that I will continue to expand in relation to my beautiful mother.
Yeah, that's amazing. Only thing I have to add is that it's not easy. Like it looks easy because we're beautiful, basically. You know what I'm saying? But it's just not easy. I want to be my own person, and I'm sure my daughter want to be her own person too. And then sometimes I feel like I think something and she says it, and I just like, how? Like, can you stop doing that? Or like I'm stressed out about a million things. I don't want her to be stressed out. So it's just it gets challenging. Closeness is challenging though. It's always challenging. And I think I feel very confident that we're both doing our best. And my mother always said that the bond when you nurse your children, it's a stronger bond. I can't really speak on it like that because I did nurse all three of my kids, so I really don't have nothing to compare it to as a mom. But I don't know. I am definitely a breastfeeding advocate for that reason and many many more. But yeah, so I just want to add that part. So thanks, Mom Naima, for chiming in, and happy Mother's Day to you too.
Happy Mother's Day.
And to your daughter. You guys are also great examples. I'm blessed to be in community, I would say, with moms and daughters like you guys, and it helps. It helps a lot. So yeah. So
Okay.
where do you want to go next?
All right. So, I mean, I want to talk about where we are today, our focuses today, just the present moment, how you feeling, some of your big ideas you have for some of the big problems that people seem to be facing in their interpersonal relationships. So yeah, we'll start with, where are we at today?
Well, to be honest with you, we need housing, so we're in the process of looking for housing. We have started a couple of initiatives that are ongoing, but it would help if we had housing. You know what I'm saying? So, soup on Sundays, book club. That's what we have going currently, I think. And the reason why I guess stuff like that is so important to me is because we all are digital. We're basically like into the transhuman thing. And the pushback against that is having interpersonal interaction, physical interactions, and community, as you would say, where we're actually around each other, spending time with each other, sharing together, eating together, learning together, just being human, because we're not robots. So it's been important for me, I think, personally and as a business model, that we provide opportunities for us to be human. I think that's really, 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 really important.
And when you say be human, in terms, I would like you to unpack a little bit more, like into the whole what it means to be human, and how you feel like we are pulling ourselves away from that very human experience through, like you said, you mentioned the technology, but specifically, what are you seeing us do that doesn't feel like it's promoting humanness or the human connection?
To be honest, I probably I don't want to, I'm gonna go a little deep, okay?
Okay.
I would say something like concepts of animal extinction, world hunger, homelessness are new concepts because they're not human concepts. Those are products of our foray into this current technological development that we happen to be in.
Mhm.
And that's not humans. Humans are social beings.
Mhm.
You know, humans are born with they have a little bit of a brain, but they can't really do anything for themselves.
Mhm.
You know, babies come into this world and they are completely reliant on other people for their survival.
Mhm.
Now, I think that's a nod from the creator in terms of how our lives are to be lived, observed, and engaged in.
Mhm.
And we are so far from that we have things like homelessness.
Mhm.
We are so far from that we have things like hunger
Mhm.
in a world that is full of food. Like God literally gave us the soil and the sun and the water. So there is no shortage of food.
Mhm.
So that we find ourselves living in these environments and these systems
Mhm.
where we can't access what we all need to survive is basically is horrendous, and it is not human. That is not human. Another example of it is um, you know, we could get into the minutia of things like, you know, the kids have a hard time writing, like just the physical
Mhm.
activity of putting a pen to the paper, something that humans have literally valued and felt was a privilege for thousands of years. We have the opportunity to do it, but we have literally chosen not to.
Mhm.
But that's minutia. It's the relationships to
Mhm.
me that really indicate the the lack of quality in our lives as human beings, the inability or the refusal to get close. You know,
Mhm.
I went to church one time, and a person who was a friend of Yal's, I don't know if you remember Uncle Leo,
Mhm.
but he was talking about what is going on. He said, when I was a youth, women valued their marriage. They valued the idea of them coming and starting their own families and this type of thing. And that was really loaded. You know what I'm saying, for me, because as I continue to ponder on what is it about our current society that makes us not value our relationships anymore.
Mhm.
We all can do fine by ourselves and we can be alone, men and women, not just, you know. So that's weird to me, you know. And I don't, because there's really no normal, but as a human being there is certain things that there's some blanks that need to be filled in as humans, and we've replaced those, we filled in those gaps with technology. We're so busy getting our fulfillment from technology that there's no room for real relationships. So when it's like, if you're getting all your dopamine and all your feel goods and your endorphins from hits on your phone and FaceTime on your, you know, on your laptop, then there's no room for the truly fulfilling things in life. So we all end up feeling really empty and chasing, I say, the D, which is dopamine. Or it could be vitamin D. The D could stand for so many things. But but the point is, you know, it's human relationships.
Yes.
It's your relationship to the earth as a human. That's a relationship.
Even the sun. Like you
Yeah,
said.
I mean, because the whole thing is, if you're not plugged into yourself as a human being and what it takes to be a person, then you are not connected to anything else. We going through stuff and we doing stuff, but we aren't being ourselves in general. And so, you know, my science is basically just to get to that fundamental piece, to disconnect from the digital. We're not digital, we're analog. We're electrical, but we're not digital. You know, we're people of light. We needed the sun from day one. We needed the sun when we were in our mother's womb. You know, and we cannot live without it, and we can't live without each other either. So anything that's coming in between that relationship is a shell and a facade, and it's an illusion, you know. And so, yeah, what was we talking about again?
We're talking about why what were the reasons why you feel like humans were not
Oh, yeah,
existing as
yeah.
humans, and like what about the non-human experiences really kind of taking over? I think it came out to
Yeah.
essentially just our relationships to technology, our relationships to nature, our relationships to what it means to be human. Um, so I would like you to talk about some of the solutions. Also, like say hello, Auntie Tanya. She came in here. How you doing?
Happy Mother's
Happy
Day.
Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Okay, but I also would like you to talk a little bit more about what those solutions look like living in an anti-human world or a world that does not promote genuine human connection, not only with the um, the nature but other people. How do you combat that? What are some of the solutions that you see and things that people can integrate into their lives to kind of promote them to being in more of an alignment with nature, with the sun?
Mm-hmm. Well, I could talk about what I do to try to,
Yes.
and I do feel like those are solutions that can be replicated and that should be built upon.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, soup on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get back to the slow food,
Mm-hmm.
and spending time together, just hanging out in a space that we've made to be safe by our presence with each other. And eating some good food, you know what I'm saying? We could throw a little sun in there too. That would not hurt nobody. But the whole point is the gathering of physical gathering. The other piece is even the book club, same thing, learning together. It's one thing to read a book. It's another thing to read it and then discuss it. My aunt recently, well, it was last year, but she invited me to one of her book clubs. And let me tell you something. The way them sisters broke that book down, inside, outside, upside down, backwards, I could have never done that by myself. I learned so much from listening to a group of sisters at a book club meeting that I learned in probably a year at college. And I'm just, keeping it 100 on that. So these physical interactions are important. When we get together, it's not just anybody. It's artists, it's moms, it's entrepreneurs, it's real estate people, it's, what I'm saying? We are literally the movers and the shakers. And we need those environments as our support, in order for us to engage our work. Then on top of that, like I have personal things that I have to do. Like I have a friend who's really Yao's friend, but by extension my friend. And his name is Moses. And one day he told me, he said, the work that I put in every day before you get this Moses, and this is a very disciplined. So I love Ghanaian men for this reason. Very disciplined. He runs not by the amount of space, but by the time. He runs for 2 hours. You know what I mean? Type of thing. Who knows where that guy be traveling to, running for 2 hours? But he runs. He greets the sun. He, all these things before he engages with a single human being. And here I had got into a pattern where I would wake up in the morning and the first thing I look at is my phone. That is a disrespect to the Most High who put the sun up in the sky. How dare you look at your phone before you greet the sun, that which feeds you and give you life? So like I had to look at myself and say, okay, Cicely, at least, you know what I'm saying? Wake up in the morning, don't look at your phone. Look at the sun. Like literally put yourself in a position to acknowledge yourself as a human being who is fed by the sun. Greet the sun. Now, like we could get into the science of it, but I'm not much of a scientist. I'm a mom scientist. Okay, I don't want to discredit myself, but
you're definitely a scientist.
But the point is, like, as those are the practical steps. Like, so honestly, I would invite everybody to think about what they engage and who they engage when they open their eyes in the morning. Now, in my opinion, that should lead you to the sun. But there are cases, and I think it's one right here that's interesting. Tanya is saying that the doctors lied to my mom that's battling lupus. They told her to stay out of the sun. I never believed that. I believe the sun will help her.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, it depends though, because they could be giving her photosensitive medicine. So there are certain medicines that a person could take that can make them like have a sick relationship with the sun, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta kind of look at the meds with that. But I would say that even with lupus, there has to be a way to tap into nature
Mm-hmm.
as part of your healing regimen. But we definitely would have to look into that specifically, and think about how that would go for lupus.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I would say the sun is our friend, and they've told us that the sun was our enemy, and so by extension, they've replaced the sun with the laptop that's like putting out a single spectrum of light that has engaged our physical systems in a way that deteriorates our access to our own brain and our own thoughts, and has led to deteriorated relationships and lack of humanity. So it's really fundamental. So those are the practical steps. So if you in Chicago, and you're not coming to our events, I don't know what to tell you because we got the sunshine inside and outside, and we do that not just because we can, but because we know it works. It works.
So at the center of this, we're really talking about connection and the ways that we facilitate connection, not only with, ourselves, the community around us, the environment around us. There's no way to hide from ourselves. So are we going to go to another break?
Yeah, we can. Let's go to a break real quick, and then we will come back and we will be talking about
stressful.
Yeah, I will do this one. Okay. So we're gonna go to a quick break, which is amazing other show that we're gonna be talking about in the break, and then when we come back, we'll keep the conversation going.
I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all. Race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms.
Super.
Haha, we are back. So,
yeah.
More social proof that I got people in the family who love me.
So I want us to talk a little bit more about, you brought up Super on Sunday as a way of connection, just in general, like this, coming back to this conversation, and really, a lot of it sounds to me about like immersion into locality immersion into your community,
Mhm.
immersion into your environment.
Mhm.
You know, your environment includes a lot of different things: plants, humans,
Mhm.
all types of. It takes a bunch of things to come together and create an environment. So, just talking about how this locality aspect and like what you're doing
Mhm.
locally and what that means to you to have more of a, because it's not just local, obviously, because we've also dealt with the diaspora. We live in Ghana, we have a house in Ghana, so it's just that balance of like, what does the local aspect mean to you, and how does that pull in this diaspora conversation?
Oh man, this is a topic. I really haven't talked much about this honestly with anybody, but these are some of the thoughts that I have on it. We are we've been transported to where we are right now. You know, historically, our ancestors, we are not physically from this environment. Like our DNA, if we do it, because I did do my DNA on the bet with the boys, or whatever. I am black to the bone, for the record. But it gives us a West Africa. You know what I'm saying? And so if you imagine being from the equator and finding your current DNA planted in Chicago, that to me requires a little bit of consideration. So we definitely have to connect with the local, but we always have to keep rooted. You know, I think where we're from, and so the same thing for my, not just in my thoughts, but in my day to day practice. What I eat, it's mostly local if I can help it, but I gotta throw some Africa in there. It's no way that I'm gonna just be sad. As my son told me one day, Ma, you know we eat yams. You know what I'm saying? Like stop playing with our emotions, you know. So I just feel like there's something to be said for that in in a holistic perspective of our life. And so I really feel like that's the last, not the last, but that's a frontier that we're confronted with building at this time. You know, because we've been over in this section of the world, and um, we've been here physically, some of us, right? But we haven't been able to sustain our gains and the things that we've built here. And one of the reasons that I'm interested in connecting more with the continent is because I feel like it creates a layer of protection, sustainability, and resiliency. So, you know, for example, it's one thing for you to build, you know, a value chain and markets locally. It's another thing for you to have suppliers come in from Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, Burkina Faso, Haiti, Jamaica. You know, that brings a whole level of connectedness that has here previously not really been seen the way that it needs to be seen. And so, and the reason why I'm so interested in doing that is because I'm not interested in building any system that cannot be sustained. I feel like we've been bombed. Our community's been set on fire. Everything that we're talking about doing in terms of, oh, buy black and all this stuff, we've done all of that. If anybody's paying attention, we've done all of that. We've done everything that we were supposed to do, and still we find ourselves in a place where, I don't know about you guys or you, but I'm not satisfied. I'm not content. As a mom and in the world, what am I leaving for my children and my grandchildren? I'm not content. What is something that I can do to add a layer of cohesiveness? What is a strategy that I can engage that's going to build a resilient network? Something that can take a hit and still continue. Something that can say, like our leader in Burkina Faso, those are people over there. I'm gonna need you to you know what I'm saying, look lively if you want any of this uranium.
Mm-hmm.
We need some of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we need farmers in Ghana to grow according to nature, to do light scale food processing and provide us with some of that sunshine that we can't touch here in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
We need them to make money from that.
Mm-hmm.
We need them so that if anybody says, oh, well, this trade line is going to be cut, well, we got some people over in Ghana that say different. They're growing this, they're making money off this. No one's allowing this line to be cut.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out another way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's building in that layer of connection
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, it's all experimental
Mm-hmm.
until it works.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a layer of connection that I feel would be different
Mm-hmm.
from the Tuskegee machine. You know, so people talk about stuff, but they don't look at what we built.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they talk about Booker T, but they don't look at what he built.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why they called it the Tuskegee machine, and it was a reason why it was attacked and dismantled. And so when we look at reconnecting and rebuilding those connections and in a modern way, in a current way, we have to look at how we will defend them. That's why the Chinua Achebe wrote that book, Things Fall Apart. You heard Black Thought say that.
Mm-hmm.
Things fall apart when the center is too weak to hold.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm talking about is the center.
Mm-hmm.
And that center is the point at which we connect.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what creates the strength.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's you know, it's a philosophy, it's a way of life,
Mm-hmm.
it's a way of doing business,
Mm-hmm.
it's holistic,
Mm-hmm.
it's culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, yeah. Because other people think of other ways to do stuff, and then we end up with pollution and just bad environments.
Mm-hmm.
We end up with homelessness, extinction,
Mm-hmm.
species eradication,
Mm-hmm.
and we end up with a lot of drama.
Mm-hmm.
But that was never the only way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So in my position, yeah, that's one of the, if we talking about something that lights my fire from the inside, that's what we're talking about right now. Because I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it, even as it's being built.
So basically saying creating these almost access points of connection that people can tap into.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk more about those access points that you're creating and the vision that you have and how you are also sustaining
Mm-hmm.
that momentum, that vibe, and curating that energy, and creating spaces for that energy to continue to grow. Like you said, Soup on Sunday, which I am a big part of the Soup on Sunday experience.
Yes, ma'am.
9 times out of 10 is probably my soup. Or a joint soup effort.
Yes.
So
we got like secret superpowers. So Noe is like basically a secret superpower. I've just told the whole world, you know what I'm saying?
But just, you know, talking more, you know, big up in the experience. What is Soup on Sunday? I could talk a little bit more about it too, because I think you talked a little bit, but you know, there's a method to the madness in terms of like having. In Ghana, when we lived in Ghana, it was always soup on Sunday. You know what I mean? We eat soup
every day.
Yeah,
okay?
we soup. And I think a lot of people get confused, like, oh, soup when it's warm. Soup every day. Soup, as much as soup that you can have is as much soup as you should hold. And so in terms of like even the science behind what the soup is and the intention that goes into us picking the soup, being a seasonal soup, we're always doing seasonal, we're always doing local. But honestly, because you know, you talk a lot about you said it, but you didn't say it. What is the soup? Why is soup so to you, you know?
Oh, well, now we're about to get small into the science of it. You know, I did mention slow food. Okay. So, you know, when you engage in community and connectivity, it ain't no shortcuts. You can't shortcut yourself. Like my man said, I mean, the 2-hour run in the morning, that's serious. That's a commitment. That's you engaging with yourself on a very, high level. Your morning routine is also extensive. Mama Yvonne, her morning routine is very extensive. Before y'all come out, several things have to be done and in place, and it's no different in no other aspect. Even with the soup and our food, we running through drive-throughs. Not the only one, and I know it, okay, because I be in the line when I hit them, okay. So, soup ain't fast in general, and it ain't supposed to be fast, and it don't need to be fast. It needs to be slow because it takes time to bring the minerals, especially if you're doing any type of base with bones. You got to bring those minerals into the soup. You know what I'm saying? And that takes time. It is absolutely no shortcut for it. We probably could use a pressure cooker, but to be honest, I wouldn't even do that. I just let it do what it does according to its natural state. The old people used to say, I want boiled foods. That's a tremendous part of the soul food repertoire. Foods that not fried foods. That's what it is known for, fried chicken and whatever else is fried fish and stuff like that. But that's not the fundamental part of soul food. The fundamental part of soul food is boiled, slow cooked foods. Foods that are nutrient dense in the way that they're prepared. And so the soup on Sundays gives us an excuse, opportunity, you know what I'm saying, and the motivation to take our time and put something together that when you eat it. When I first started making like really intentional, using bones and meat to make a nutrient dense base for my soup, I remember I gave Papa Yao a cup of it, and he at that time called it medicine soup, which tells me that when he drank that soup, he felt better. You see what I'm saying? And that is that you just gonna get the raw, unadulterated from a child. It is what it is. When you drink that soup, whatever problems you had, whatever you was feeling before that, it's gonna improve because you just put in some love, some time, some effort, some quality, some electrons, some protons. You know what I'm saying? You just put all of that in a bowl, and somebody just gave it to you. Service with a smile. You know what I'm saying? So it's deeply scientific. It's deeply spiritual. It's a holistic, like everything else, it's a holistic viewpoint. You can look at it from so many different ways, from the physical gathering around the soup to the contribution. I always tell people, bring something to put in the pot. We as human beings, even when you nurse your baby, it's not just you giving the baby also giving you something too. When a mom is carrying a baby, she's also basically like, that's the top immunity that her body is going to feel in her life when she's carrying a baby. When you nurse your baby, oxytocin, it releases in your body. It don't get much better than that as far as chemicals in your body, okay? To let you feel good. You always get something in return. When you put something in, you're going to expect something else. That's nature, and sometimes we try to get out of it, but we're not doing ourselves no service. If you don't put none in the pot, you're not going to get as much as you want back out of it. Now, so you might not have no cash, you might not have no gifts, but you got to think about, your presence and what you're putting into the pot, because us coming together is really what makes the wheel turn. And if it's only one person cooking, this is something I need an excuse to talk about that. Because when I was coming up, my grandmothers would have these massive parties. Everybody would be there, the entire family, the entire neighborhood, and it would be unlimited food and drinks for everyone. We never saw anybody putting something in the pot, sliding my grandmother $100 or $200 in her hand. You maybe didn't see that. Those of us who sat with our grandmothers and cooked with our grandmothers, we did. We know for a fact that our uncles was like, here, sister, put this in the pot. I know for a fact that my father was like, Ma, I'm going to give you such and such so you could, you know what I'm saying, do your thing with plenty of meat. My mother would show up to Thanksgiving at my grandmother's house with no less than 3 or 4 homemade cakes. Stop playing. The party came when she entered. You know what it is. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So it was always people that if you didn't put none in the pot, that's on you. But somebody was putting something in for us to be able to have those gatherings. So for me, that's a whole topic, but we need to be responsible for putting something in the pot so that we can continue to come together and be what we need to be for each other. We can't be nothing for each other without contributing something. You know, so me and you, we know because we cook, we clean, we buy everything, we cook all the food, we clean up afterwards. You know what I'm saying? Like, God, it's, you know what I'm saying? Then we got to be present for everybody when they here, service with a smile. You know what I'm saying? Okay, that's a lot of energy, that's a lot of effort, and some have to come from the people who are participating. We can't be left to do it all. That's why a lot of people don't do stuff like that no more. And especially in today's economy with food being the price that it is in America, in Ghana, anywhere, if you still want to have the benefit of those communal, you know, gatherings, and they are beneficial, then you got to ask yourself, what are you putting in the pot, and make sure you show up for yourself and your family and your friends. So, you know, that was like a whole public service announcement. Because I just think that I just saw a post today. One of my cousins posted, like, I miss the old days when grandma used to bring everybody together. Grandma didn't do that by herself. Grandma has some angel investors, you know, some people that they never said, I gave her $200 on the meal. They never said that. And to be honest, they never had to. But you should know that if you want soup on Sundays, you got to put some in the pot. It ain't too much to ask. Yeah, I actually had somebody get mad at me about it. They thought I wasn't singling them out at all, you know. And there's people that come like, I don't got no money. Sit down and eat. Somebody gave me extra. You know what I'm saying? It was provided for. Yeah. So, yeah.
Auntie Tanya said, I've always believed the root of all clean ingredients of slow cooked, carefully prepared foods is healing. I was raised on boiled foods. I'm getting back to it.
Yeah. Real talk.
Yeah,
real talk.
I think circling back, you know, because things always come full circle. I'm like, if y'all know that movie, Everything All at Once, all the time, that's me. And I shared that with my mom. When she watched the movie, she was like, oh my goodness. So, yeah, that's how my brain works. So
yeah.
As we were talking about this, I was seeing my experience in Ghana. I was seeing myself having a soup. And even in Ghana, I was specifically having soup every Sunday. That was just like a practice that I had curated there while I was there. And also just how my body reacted when I came back here. And I just feel like, in terms of, like you said, having the boiled food and having a lot of these things more bioavailable, things don't gotta sit in you that long because it's already set on the stove. You know what I mean? It already took its time.
Come on with
to
the fire.
Cook. So, but when I came back to the States, you know, one of the first things I noticed one was the tension and just the angst of being here, being on boom, boom, boom. Everything in the society is microwave, from relationships to, you know, the TV shows. Kids don't even want to watch a full movie no more.
Oh,
everything is a microwave experience. And so coming back, instantly the anxiety hit me. I was feeling the tension in my body. Then the weight gain started to come, and I just realized I'm eating what I consider pretty good food. Like, I eat holistically for the most part, but I wasn't eating soup as much. And so I can almost immediately see that line kind of be drawn for me and being like, you not eating things is not as bioavailable for you, so they're literally sitting with you longer in order for them to get to the point where your body can't push them out. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And yeah, I just feel like when, like, as you shared that, it's not just me. Okay, because sometimes we all get into that little individual silo where you think like, man, what is really going on, But nah, I honestly, I mean, we could do another show to talk about living in Ghana versus living here, and I think it does deserve time to be talked about. Because there are some huge differences and things I think that we have probably noticed over time, spending time there versus being here. Some of the stuff I don't even think people here will believe, but we got to get a date for that. Hopefully, while the sun's still up, and then also you eat the soup, you eat it outside in the sun.
Yeah.
Which is
that's
next
another level.
That's a next level experience because when you eat outside,
you sweating, the pepper is getting you,
and you cook outside.
Yep.
So if you're engaged in that process, you just spent about good 6 hours in the sunshine. What you think that do for you? Right. It's a whole different mindset. Now you know why when you over there, everybody's looking at you with that smile like everything's gonna be fine. They all calm and we like, with that whole Chicago thing, like what is right now, and they just be looking at us. She's talking about the sweating. The sweating is real. We had a comment that said the sweating is real. But yeah, I really would like to talk more about how we can create more environments,
I think that like you said, the soup on Sunday is definitely a great opportunity for people to come in, connect with us personally, but also for those who aren't even here, feel empowered to also curate those experiences elsewhere. I think finding more ways, this is one of my biggest things that I've been saying this year. I think finding more ways to connect, finding deeper reasons to resonate, and more reasons to understand. We can always focus on what don't make sense, what didn't add up, but it takes a certain type of personality to shift a certain type of perspective to choose to see it all there and say, but I'm going to focus on what did resonate. You know what I mean? Because it didn't make sense and what did though? I challenge everybody. I challenge myself every day. Even when I go and I'm talking to people, our ears are tuned to know. But where can you find a yes? Where can you find something that does, bring you in, draw you in? Not always is we supposed to focus on what push us away. So finding more ways to be drawn into the community, finding more ways to be drawn in to yourself, finding more ways to be drawn in to, life is good.
Yeah, I'm really feeling that. I just think that this is why I wanted to have one of the scientists. I wanted to do like a special show to really talk about nature and how it allows us to say yes. It allows us, plugging into nature is what allows you to open up to the possibilities of you as a person and one of the 8+ billion people on this earth. Nature, it big ups you and it humbles you at the same time. Because when you stand, as you have, at the foot of a beautiful waterfall, it's like, I think the day that I took that hike to that waterfall, it was a 45-minute hike. Who knew I could do it? And to stand at that waterfall, that is the day I didn't believe in God. I came to know God. And you could call it whatever you want to, but at the end of the day, you didn't make nothing. When you stand there, you know that it's something going on here that is way bigger than you, and that if you could just plug in, then all can be for you and for your benefit as well. It's an old Bible story too. If I could just touch the hem of his garment, I know I will be made whole. And so I'm not super big on the Bible, but I've had occasion to read a few chapters. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like that is what we're talking about when we're talking about plugging in to nature. So I do, as honestly, I feel like when I ground, when I connect with the sun as a person on this earth, I do feel much more clarity. I feel much more direct guidance from inside my own self. From I don't know where it comes from, but it helps direct my thoughts. It makes things more clear, and it makes me able to say yes, and it allows me to be open. I just feel like sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves to do and be, these higher order beings without the tools that we need to be them. And it makes it like an uphill battle when really it's just a stroll. You know what I'm saying? Like all you got to do is walk across the grass. All you got to do is, walk across the edge of the lake or the ocean, and it's something that's there for you, that allows you to be more better and to be more of who you are. And so sometimes we have a lot of unrealistic expectations. Like, how can you expect a transhuman to love you and treat you correctly? We want our relationships to be all this and whatever. And I mean, how? Based on what? As that person is drawing from an empty well, because they ain't even at the well. They sitting in front of the laptop. You know what I'm saying? Getting lit up by somebody else's program and ideas and all of this other stuff. So for me, I don't never want to just talk about none of this stuff. I want us to really plug in, and take the opportunity to do the simple things. So
we're gonna do one more break.
Okay.
Why do we turn our back on a friend we need to love from within? Tell me, when will all this hatred end? We need to bring love back again. Stop and listen for the sign of the times. Pay attention, don't you hear the cry? It's a brand new day, it's good to be alive. You have survived, ain't it good to be alive? Don't it feel real good to be alive? Somewhere over the rainbow, the sun will rise. Wake up, everybody.
Hello, welcome back. Okay, so we have a question from Naima. She said, which is a better environment for raising children, Ghana or America? Do you and your daughter have the same opinion on this?
I'm giving my opinion first. Okay, how about that?
Okay, you go ahead, you give your opinion.
I do think Ghana is a better environment for raising children, to be honest with you. I find that people in Ghana live, for the most part, quite a bit closer to nature. At least they have the opportunity to live a little a lot, depending on where they live, closer to nature than we do. And I think that gives them an endless stream of benefits. I remember years of watching Ghanaian kids thinking, oh, they're so well mannered, and they're great students, and they're respectful, and they listen to their parents. That's every parent's favorite, type of child. But again, it's plugging into nature that allows them to be open, flexible to guidance. Um, it allows them to have all of those. It allows them to go into their minds and be like aerospace engineers. The people we met over there, like, God, these women are brilliant, Not to say that we don't have brilliant kids here, as you are an example of that. But personally, yeah, I just think it's better, and I have like a million reasons for that. What about you, Noe?
Um, I'm a really strong believer that the grass is not greener on the other side in any capacity. I think that sometimes people use that as a reason not to just grow where you are. And it's really not to say that America is this or Ghana is that, because like I said, there's across the bear no matter where you go. And I'm also really big on not feeling like you need to run away. And I think that moving in any space where you feel like you have to run is not beneficial no matter where you're going at the end. So if you're running from America and you're going somewhere else, sorry to say, I don't think that that is the solution to anybody's problem. It's a difference when there's intention involved and this and that, and then we could talk about that until we're blue in the face. But I think, like I said, as a raw, uncut version, the grass is just never greener. And I think there's ways to live in Ghana that can be better, but there's also ways to live in America that can be better. And it's all about how you pivot with what you've been given. And if you could do the best with what you have, I think that's the best for any child. A child that's being raised with people who are invested in their enrichment, a child that's being raised with people who are inquisitive and curious about their experience, that would be best for a child. You could raise a child anywhere in the world, and if you yourself are not ready for the job, the child not gonna have a good childhood. So I would say that's the short version for me. I think there are definitely things that I had access to that I was really grateful for when I was living in Ghana. There's things that I had access to when I lived in America that I was really grateful for. I think, and I don't say that it's indicative because it's really interesting. Like the time frame that I went and I stayed in Ghana for the longest was more of my younger adult life. And that's after my whole hippy dippy, oh my God, I'm so connected with the world. I'm so connected with life. I love life type of mentality. My mom been making jokes that I've been basically a hippie since I was a kid. But just knowing that I already came with that deep connection and that deep reverence for spirit, for nature, for life. And then meeting, young adults that were my age and seeing that, like, they didn't even have to have that type of stuff at the forefront of their mind. They had time to, because it was built in the system. Like, of course they have reverence for nature. Of course they have reverence. Like, how could you live here and not,
Right.
But there were times where I recognized me having built that deep intention showed me different things and, revealed itself in different ways. Because sometimes it's just like, I think like in America, we happen to make certain things our personalities. Like it's a personality to be a nature lover. It's a personality to be queer. It's a personality. Like they become identifiers. And I feel like in Ghana, it was more integrated. Like it was never like, I love nature. It's like, I walk to school in the morning and so I see it and it's here and I respect it. It was never like a big thing. And so it was always interesting to me because when I was in Ghana, I'm like, oh God, I want to go on these hikes and I want to do all these, these things that you would consider that people who love nature or who have deep regard for nature, they do, right? No, for them, they were like, for what? Why would we we're gonna take a walk to go to the small pub here. That's plenty of enough walking. It's integrated, so it was a little bit different for me. And the same with my brothers. Like my brothers are Ghana boys down, so for them it's like, you want to go on a hike just for fun. And it's just like, yes, I do. I enjoy things like that. So, but they also, my brothers are the type of boys that they grew up not wearing a shirt. They walk around barefoot everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's like, they might not need to go take off their shoes and run in the field and frolic. It's not a forefront thought for them because naturally they've already been connected. So that's more so where I could say, whereas me being in America and having my childhood mostly based here is that it's a personality for me. Like a lot of things are a personality. Like I've naturally just, oh my God, you know, I love that I'm a nature girly. I love that I'm this. I love that I'm that. And only recently have I started to have more conversations with people who've been like, who are you outside of the things that, you know, you participate in, or the things that you can, like, you know, like I said, participate in. So it's always been interesting because that is a hard question as a person that was mostly based in the West, who grew up feeling like all these things were my identifiers. I thought those were me. I thought that, you know, and then it's like, no, I'm just a human. Honestly, I'm having a human experience. So none of these things are completely just me. So I would say, yeah, that like the grass is never greener, and there's more than one way to skin a cat. So for sure.
Yeah. I got a million reasons too, but I think you pretty much nailed it in terms of the immersion, because especially, you know, pulling you guys through the Betty Shabazz Academy Network, which for people who don't know, that's one of the flagship African center school institutions. Hey, Kofi. That is here in America, and I mean it's 50 plus years strong of their network, and that was amazing, you know, being able to have cultural based education for you guys. But going to school in Ghana for the boys, I can clearly see it was next level. As hard as we try here, we still are not immersed.
Yeah, that's the key.
So there's an immersion in nature. When I first went into the interior, like when we went to Quail in the mountains, which Kofi took me, I just thought to myself, God, is this what we were removed from? And it's like coming in contact with paradise, and feeling that heart-wrenching, you know, situation of having to be ripped away from that, and then the joy of being the one who gets to return. You know, and I could just imagine all of my ancestors that wanted to come back home, you know, that couldn't, that dreamed of it. Even now, I hear people say, I just want to touch the land before I die. You know, when I hear people say it, I hear my ancestors saying that, you know. And so when I first brought this boy, the youngest one, to visit Kwekua school, because he was at a boarding school in the mountains, and he just kept saying, Ma, thank you for bringing me to where my father is from. He kept saying it. I almost cried about 4 times. Yeah, because, you know, like, yeah, but it was just so, man, it just touched me. And to be able to do that in and of itself is just been an amazing accomplishment for me as a mother, you know, speaking of which. And it's something that is the gift that keeps on giving. And I feel like it'll continue to give, you know, even when I'm gone. And I really love that for myself.
I definitely agree too. The immersion is everything, because even when it comes to, like I said, it's one thing when you eat by yourself, when you come from home and your parents have instilled you to have these certain beliefs and to hold your head high in a certain way. and you go out into the world and you face with people who nobody is reflecting that image, nobody is communicating that back with you. So it feels so much almost like you screaming into a vacuum chamber, but nobody can hear you. I can almost express that in my high school experience, because I did come from a place like Beige-Bass that was culturally rich, to the point where I always tell people like I was raised Pan-African. It's different. I have a different mentality than me. My blackness is different. It means something different from me, and my expression of it is a lot. It's different. And like being around people whose skin don't look like mine, whose hair don't look like mine, and still trying to, it's me, trying to go hard. Like it can become exhausting. You can also lose yourself. And I found myself at certain points in my life having to come back to that center that was given to me. And gratefully, I was given a center to come back to. But a lot of people don't even have that base to move from. And so it could be confusing for them. But, when I always joke with people, it was like, I went from a Pan-African school from preschool to 8th grade. I decided to have the integrated experience for high school. So I went to Jones downtown, and that was a beautiful experience as well. That left me knowing I needed to go to an HBCU afterwards. So going to an HBCU, mid HBCU experience, I did small time in California. I did a semester in California, as a transient program, and being in California and realizing, oh, hell no, I got to get back to Tuskegee. I thought I could be out here with them folks, but everybody here think a lot different than me. So let me get back to something that I might know about. Going back to Tuskegee, mid-Tuskegee, COVID happened. Then what I do? I moved to Africa. So for me, my lens has always been Black, and I feel like I've shot that. Like I've continued on that trajectory because that was what was given. A lot of people who don't even have that base, they always commend me like, dang, it's something about you. And I was like, oh, it's the self-knowing. Yeah.
Well, I always look at it like culture is the lens through which you see the world. And so, that culture is what colors the way you do everything. It's the way, it's even tells you the parameters around your relationships, how you could treat people, how you can't treat people, how you talk to people. It tells you how you do business. You can't just do anything, through our cultural lens. You got to do it like this. You got to do it in an expansive way. Look how you even just described Jones. Oh my God. Like you couldn't get more positive than that. Oh my God. So, and they don't even deserve it. Okay. Let me just say it, but they don't. So I'm just saying that culture is it's not just our lens through which we see the world. It's also our immune system, it's our system of defense, and everything that we do has to be guided and directed by our culture in order for it to be really successful for us to be, to thrive. So I want to thank you for coming on and vibing with me today. This Super Moms Day, I just appreciate this so much. We've been through a time, okay, and this is just really just indicative of the back work, the backstory. If you want to be invited to any of our events, we have a solstice retreat coming up. An equinox retreat coming up. We're going to be taking a group of people to Ghana, but it's invite only. We're not doing huge crowds of nothing. Small, focused, qualitative, and really you can prepare to be enriched and uplifted, not just with our company, but with the company of the whole community that we are engaged in. So with that being said, thank you, Aunt Tanya, for chiming in with us, and everybody else. And thank you, Noe, for being patient with Mom and, giving us a chance to have this conversation. I don't get a chance to talk about, my mom and all these different topics that we've talked about today very much, but that doesn't mean they don't need to be talked about. Okay.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just appreciate you. Period. You know, what else is it to be said?
More love, more life, more fire.
Fire. Buck, buck, buck.
We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you.
Bye. See you guys later.